This is Kitten Features, and you're listening to ShowX Live with Ken in his student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Happy 2020 or 0202 Palindrome Day, as it is February 2nd, 2020. So hopefully everyone is doing well out there today. And if you're watching the pre-show, you saw that Ken and I were just in the middle of trying to finish up a game of LOL ARAM that we unfortunately failed to win. Although I'll at least give it that it was a solid back and forth. So for better or worse, we gave it our good. You know, if only we had been, not as, I don't know, squishy?
Bad.
Fair. Excuse me. Fair. Anyhow, how are you doing today, Ken?
I'm good. How are you, sir? How are things on your end? How are you feeling?
I'd say they're going pretty well. I'm, coming up from a run today, but otherwise doing well. And so
you got a little coffee like gunk in your throat from all the running around and such.
So I am unfortunate in the point that whenever I press and actually try to run fairly hard, once I am finished and trying to recover, my body lets me know. And it's like, you did that. We know, I see you. And so I apologize if you hear me up a lung during the show a little bit, as my body is still trying to say, stop it. We see what you did, and we're not happy about it. So, yeah, that's the thing. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get things started off with a little bit of
Dysfunctional Deviations.
Ken, what have you been up to that hasn't been geek this week?
A fair bit. Some things, a little bit. Not much. I've had a rather dull week. Shout out to Seancaster, who's joined us in the chat, by the way. I almost said IRC, because that's, a thing that I'm used to saying with the word Seancaster. Nice to see you, buddy. So I haven't been up to much. My country of origin has been. Brexit happened. That's
Happy Brexit weekend!
Yeah, there were some celebrations out and about the place. There were some parades and rallies and woohoo, we're out of the EU now, yay, kind of stuff. And well, there's also been I've seen several news postings of several racist people who have taken this as an opportunity to show how racist they are. I've seen people posting things in like their tenement blocks saying this is now that we're out of the EU, this is now an English-speaking country, the Queen's English only, and all this crap. And it's
gosh, Jesus, nothing to do with what Brexit was about.
Yeah, Brexit had nothing to do with racism. Also, no people that are not white are allowed. It's like, can you be more racist? So yeah, super proud of my home country today and this week. Not at all ashamed, and so on. So that's been rather sad watching that. It is a slow, ongoing thing. It seems like the Brexit process is going to be slow in terms of how we exit. I saw the sad videos of the taking down of the British flag in
from
Brussels.
The EU. Yeah,
that was sad to see. Actually, that really was. And you know what? Like, never mind the news, never mind the media, never mind what we're told by elsewhere. I can give you some first-hand, or at least second-hand viewpoints of it. I've talked to researchers from at least 3 different universities that I work closely with in Britain. Each of whom have told me about how difficult it has been to try and fill positions in the UK that would normally be filled by people from the EU. So there's funding opportunities, there's jobs available, PhDs available, master's schemes available that come with funding and such, that normally would be either funded by the EU or would be filled by somebody who's coming from the EU and funded through them, and they're just not being taken up. So there's lots of research that's just been halted or postponed and so on across the UK in multiple universities because of this. And I know my previous university, the University of Stirling, has been posting lots of pro EU stuff all over their social media, saying along the lines of, while Britain may have left, Scotland is still with you, EU. We will return, and all this kind of thing. Because Scotland did not want to leave. And it's interesting to see institutions they're actually funded by governmental bodies stand up and say, we're against this decision. So before I go any further into the chat about Brexit and such, this is Kitten Features. You guys know Kitten Features.
Hello.
So here you are. Say
Here
hi.
I am. Hello. Hi, guys.
So
Where's the camera?
It's up here. It's up here.
Hello.
I'm gonna hand you over this.
Okay.
So we only have one set of headphones. So Kitten Features has a story she would like to tell.
Oh!
So as close to me as you can.
Okay.
As if you like me.
Right. So this is kind of a funny one, and I'm gonna try and tell it without laughing.
Failed.
Yeah, already.
Oh. Okay, so I was out walking the dogs, as I do. And, we have rescue dogs, and they're great, but they are super weird. Like, they're so weird with other dogs. They're, like,
they can't be really
the most
trusted.
socially awkward creatures you'll ever come across. So, hello, socially awkward creature. Yes, and hello, socially awkward creature.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, so I was walking them, and, I'm very careful to keep them away from other dogs, because it will just end up in a sexual assault issue.
Yeah. There are laws against that. Yeah,
there are laws against that. So I was walking them, and I always feel like kind of like a badass with little old me with two dogs. So I was going around the corner, and there was this teenage boy and obviously his sister or something like that with their dog out in front of their lawn, and it's a very cute scene. I was like, okay, well, I just need to make sure they're far enough that I'll be fine. That dog clocked onto Tank, started barking. And then all of a sudden, the guy was standing, and all of a sudden, he wasn't there anymore. And I see them coming towards me. He's dragging on the ground through the snow. And all I could do was just turn around awkwardly. And as I was turning around to awkwardly go, Brutus just went, whoa! Like, just one bark. Like, yeah, that's right.
One high-pitched. like a seagull.
This poor guy, honestly, you could see through the snow. It's just this line of him coming towards me. Oh, it was so funny, but we had to scarper out of there. I wish I could have stayed and watched. It was hilarious.
but these two big brutish-looking dogs, they're kind of scary-looking from afar, walking towards this other dog. He starts barking at them. And our two dogs are perfectly quiet and fine until they're running away and retreating and turn around and go, wow! This girlish, high, feminine bark,
So funny. I felt really bad for that guy, honestly. Jesus, Lord and Mary. But yes, that was my funny story. I was going to tell it the last time.
Week, yeah.
Yeah, last week, because that happened while you were on the show. But,
yeah.
So it's a delayed story. But I hope you found as much enjoyment as I did. Oh, right. Okay, I'll hand. I pressed a button.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll fix it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you for telling your story. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. Nice to see you. Have a great Sunday.
Sean Castro laughed and said, "That guy."
That poor guy. Honestly.
Oh gosh, that sounds so bad.
Bye. Library.
She's off to the library. Bye.
That's hilarious. I'm just picturing the scene because how big did she say that the other dog was?
Like a medium to small sized dog, not too big, which makes it worse, right? This
That's what I was wondering.
Dude.
It'd be one thing if it was, it'd be the classic scene if it was some kind of Great Dane or something like that, or a Mastiff or something, right? That goes loping after, and then this person just being yanked off their feet. But saying that it was kind of a normal sized dog and having, so now I'm imagining the person holding the dog must have been absolutely like this tiny waif of a person. To get drugged through the snow by an enthusiastic pup. So that's wow. And
I love that the closing stamp on the scene was my scary looking dog that people keep mistaking for a pit bull, like a big muscly thing walking around like this and goes, "Bow!" He's just such a puppy at heart.
Oh, really that's hilarious. No, that was a good story. Definitely thanks to Kitten Features for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Good way to start the show.
So it's February. How crazy is that?
It is February already, and actually, I have to say, for a change, Ken, I feel comfortable to say that the year doesn't feel like it's escaping me yet. Like often, you look back and a month has gone already. You're just like, what? Where'd it go? For me, I can at least say that I feel like I've done enough that the month was a month. It was neither fast nor slow, but a month.
In the last week, I can't remember which day it was. A few days ago. Ken and I were talking about like something we wanted to do. I can't remember what it was. Something we wanted to do in the future, and I started to say, well, we could do that after our anniversary. And I thought about it, and I stopped myself and thought, wait, our anniversary was a month ago. Like, a month and a day now ago, right? Like, it's how did I forget that what year and month? I thought it was still Christmas to go. Some part of my brain just seemed to have not quite registered the time and year yet. I think it's just because it was all also fast paced, arriving in the US, then Kitten's 30th, and then Christmas, and then the New Year, and then our anniversary, and I just think all that together, I just sort of forgot, I guess, and I was just like, oh my god,
Well,
yeah, time has flown by.
I was going to say, but has it flown by in the sense that you just weren't paying attention to time? Because it sounds like you were very busy and engaged, and so a lot was happening.
That's part of it, right? When you're always thinking about the next thing, and then when finally all the things have stopped for a little while, you look around and go, "Oh, it's the next year."
Well, and it's interesting because I see a lot of social media quotes and things that people put out there, and I keep trying to look at the more positive side of things, because I see a lot of people who comment already that, and kind of echoing what Preacher said in the chat about January was the longest year of the month so far, or year of the year. That some people really felt like January hit them hard. I have some other friends who admittedly have been going through a lot of junk. Everything from a couple friends who are dealing with various stages of cancer to financial issues to all kinds of things, right? So there's some legit challenges people deal with all the time. I've been fortunate where, for me, I think this year has started out chill, and I am slowly making progress towards better things. I also, and this is not to judge anybody on how they're dealing with the things they're dealing with, but an idea that I am trying to focus more on those things that are good throughout my day and throughout the week, and less so the challenges or things that we do suffer, because I feel like it is really easy to get stuck on something bad that happened, right? And somehow allow it to make everything seem negative the rest of the day. And I've seen some really interesting quotes on things like that. Everything to how many seconds of a day there are, and if you let something that took place in 10 seconds or even like a couple minutes of the day, what percentage of the day that is, and why would you allow it, that small portion slice of your overall day, to ruin the experience you'll have for the rest of the day? Thoughts like that, right? It's stuff like that. But I do, at the same time, understand that some people are going through some stuff, right? So that's legit. But I still recommend, or I try to push out for people to think about really focusing on those good moments throughout the day, and just trying to be more positive. Because as I'll share, I've had my challenges too, and so things happen, but it'd be all right. So
yeah. As you know, I'm very stoic. I try to be very stoic. I think I naturally have a predisposition to be a stoic person, and yeah, I think that focusing on the good things is generally good on a day-to-day basis, but also when something bad happens, generally speaking, is not due to our own fault, and if it is, it's something that we can deal with, right? If you cause the fault, it's something you can learn from and try not to do in the future. And if it's not your fault, then you can't feel bad because you can't blame yourself for it, right? The same goes for all these health issues, financial issues that are out of your, out of your power. Then just shrug and get on with life, right? I mean, like that's kind of the stoic position. It's just these things suck, and everybody has sucky parts of their life. Some people more than others, of course. And it's very easy for somebody in a relatively privileged and easy position to say, well, just be stoic about it. Well, because it is hard, right? Stoicism is something that needs to be practiced on a daily basis. It's not something you just do. I think that takes a lot of time and meditation to get to. But it's a type of Zen that I think is a great mindset, and I personally really want to do. And I recommend that mindset to anybody who is struggling with anything in life, any kind of hardship. I think daily stoicism and daily thinking about stoicism is important. Anyway, but less preaching. Not that it's a religion in any which way. So yeah, that's it's quite crazy that it's February already. That's a bit bad, and it's something I'm trying to get used to, as I always am. I'm always struggling with the time and the year, and I can never quite believe where we are. So, what this, we're in the dysfunctional deviations section, so I should probably actually talk about some of the stuff I've been up to. So yeah, Brexit Day was what I was mentioning. That existed. That's a thing. That's a bit sucky, but it is what it is, and I'm hoping that we can eventually get to a level of stability now in the UK, and I hope that both financial, economic, and I hope that this doesn't give an excuse for certain individuals, parties, and government officials to produce laws that would not be allowed under the EU and use as an excuse to push money-making laws that are lessen environmental effects or human rights. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, you mean don't be the U.S.?
Well, a large part of this has been the selling off of the NHS, right? It's something that was originally touted as, oh, that will never happen, but every month it gets a little closer, and it looks like we're getting to the point where, it seems like the government does want to sell off parts of the NHS and eventually the whole thing. And that just means Britain will return to a point where health is only for the rich. Whereas right now we're at a point where, the minimum standard for health is pretty damn good. And there's private options for those who can afford it. So you kind of get the best of both worlds in the UK right now, which I really like. Admittedly, the NHS is massively underfunded and there's huge queues, and the problem is that we don't fund it enough, is really the problem. Whereas right now we're going to go in the opposite direction and try and fund it less and have to pay for it. Madness. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think the further down that route we go, the more Scotland will want to move away from the UK. Additionally, what I saw was interesting in the news this morning, Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, announced, or at least it was some documents were leaked that showed that he is about to spend £5 million on a campaign to try and dissuade Scotland from leaving the UK. Which I think is a great thing, because I think the more that the UK fights against Scottish independence, the more it's in people's minds, and the more likely it is to happen. I think it perversely is one of those things that the more you acknowledge it as a real thing, the more official it becomes, especially if a government isn't recognizing it. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. In the next week, I've got my driver's license, my first-time driver's license appointment on Wednesday. So wish me luck with that. I don't know what's involved. I think it's just a learner I get. I think I just get that straight away. I'm not too sure.
I'm not sure how it does for someone that has a license from somewhere else. Because normally you'll have to do so it doesn't mean you need a learner's, though, because learners, I don't know. Admittedly, it's been a lot of years since I was starting to drive, and I've only seen the rules change through, friends of mine's kids.
Yeah.
Because, when I drove, you didn't have to go through any kind of extra training. All you really had to do was go in, take the test, both practical and written, and boom, you got a license when you were 16. Now it seems like you pretty much have to have some kind of driver's course before you can. When you now get a license, instead of it being officially just, here's your license, you now have restrictions.
Right?
It likely
each state
is.
has their own requirements.
Yeah, it likely is. But I've just seen it change over time where I'm just like, what the heck?
Yeah. I know Michigan, you're supposed to have 30 days of testing or training or whatever. I think that part I can get written off. I think I can say I drove for 5 years, so it's fine, right? And I'm pretty sure that counts as training, right? But I do plan to do a lesson or two here. Even though I've driven across the state and to Canada and back, and I've already got about 1,000 miles clocked here. I still need to understand formally what everything means. Even if it's just the cultural things I don't quite know the difference with. For example, like I said the last time, in the UK, if you are in I'm not going to use left or right, I'm going to talk about the outside lane, right? So if you're trying to pass somebody, you need to do it in the outside lane. You can't be on the inside lane. If you're in the slow lane, you cannot pass somebody in the UK. But I know that's different here, for example, right? That's actually, legally, you're allowed to do it here, whereas in the UK, you're actually breaking the law by doing that. So there's little things like that while I'm sure it'd be fine driving around, I could be fine, I could fail a written for that if I don't get it right. So I need to revise. I need to ask some questions to somebody who drives here, who can do and all that sort of stuff. And and actually get taken around in a car and be told what's different and that sort of thing. I'm sure 1 or 2 lessons would be more than enough. Like, I don't think I'll need much.
Well, in all honestly,
driving...
I think you could find all the details you'd need online via both YouTube, and I'm sure there's written practice exam type things to questions that you'd be asked. I think one of the bigger things I've seen as a rule that changes between states is whether it is legal for you to turn and float to an external lane when making a turn either direction, or if you have to stay in the nearest lane or assigned lane based on the turning lane. Because that's something here in Colorado, you have to stay in the nearest lane. Other states, it's actually legal for you to float lanes as you turn. And so that's one of the few things that I know is a difference between states, at least.
But you're allowed to change lanes at any point, though, right? You're allowed to change into any other lane at any point.
So once you turn here, you can then turn into the other lanes. But the idea is you're supposed to turn into your closest lane, or assigned if it's a multiple turn. And the reason I say that, because there's a lot of examples, and I've like rah-rahed about this a lot, where it is most efficient if you have 2 lanes on the other road and you have people turning in from opposite directions, that as they turn, both can, if you follow the rules, turn at the same time. It's crazy. And then traffic flows. But because so few people adhere to that, you'll find often, and admittedly it's probably safer, to kind of wait and check whether or not you're allowed to, or you'll turn at the same time, or if that person's going to float into your lane and cause an accident. And
this is a great example of why AI would be better at driving than we would, because they could just talk to each other and say, hey, I'm going to go in that lane. Cool, I'm going to this one. Let's do it. Right? Whereas humans are like, oh, I can't trust that guy. I can't really know what's going on. So, yeah. I got to do all that. I got to do my driver's license on Wednesday, and we'll see how that goes. Next Sunday, I will be here for the show.
Okay.
But directly after the show.
Yes.
And I think possibly towards the end, I might have to leave early. We'll see. We're going to Ann Arbor, to the south of here, to a Mickey Avalon concert. So Mickey Avalon is a very sexy man that Kitten is a big fan of, and he's a singer/rapper, I guess. And in her teenage years, she's... Oi, don't jump in the door. Go lie down. In her teenage years, she was a big fan of him, and we realized that he's actually coming to town, right? Like he's coming to a town really close to ours. So we thought, why not? Tickets are cheap. We'll just get a bus down. It'll be good fun. So next Sunday we're gonna not drive. We're gonna hop over to that town, Ann Arbor, and see Mickey Avalon.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah. But that's everything I've been up to and everything that's been going on. It's been rather dull. It's been very, very work heavy this past week. So yeah, how are things on your end, sir?
Oh, let's see. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about that isn't geek this week. I think the main thing I wanted to bring up, I've got some household stuff, but I think it actually counts as geek this week. But is that I went yesterday to go help celebrate my friend Hydroxycut's birthday party. As he said, his 6th celebration of his 30th year. And we went to a venue that's kind of like a Dave & Buster's called The Main Event. And it's one of these establishments that has a combination of activities from pool to bowling to laser tag, as well as a bit of an arcade, restaurant, all of those kind of things combined, right? And so went there to hang out, have some drinks, and run around and play basically arcade games throughout the night. It was interesting because they actually had an option that I did not mind. I thought was surprisingly, what do I want to say? It was cost effective and such.
Uh-huh.
And in it, what they did that I hadn't seen anywhere else is they let you rent or get a card. That as long as, because a lot of these establishments have, like Dave & Buster's and others, where you can earn tickets, and in those tickets you can turn around and, you can turn them into like prizes at the end of the night, buy a prize as you exchange it for tickets. Well, they have an option where instead of loading up your little card to play games with money, that then you can earn tickets and stuff like that for the end of the day, you can give yourself a time period to play. And what they did is for $20, you got unlimited play for 4 hours. And what was cool about this is they didn't let you earn any tickets, which in all honesty, I don't need half the little plushy nonsense stuff there anyways. It only is fun if I'm working for someone else to get tickets. But it meant that for 2 hours, I got to play pretty much every game there and not constantly have to add more money. Because I have gone to a Dave & Buster's and in the same time played like $30, $40, $50 worth of games. And so for me, that was like an actual reasonable thing to do because we got there just after 6 or so and 8 and stuff and then got our tickets around 7. So I got to go to like almost 11, 11:30 at night and play everything I wanted to, which was awesome. I think the only thing it did not include were the activities, so like the laser tag and those kind of things. And it didn't include the VR games, which was an interesting thing too, because this is the first time I've been to an establishment where they had actual arcade-style VR setups. And they had, I think, 3 distinct ones that I remember seeing. One of them was this big cage kind of area that had position for 4 people to play. And it was set up as like a first-person shooter type VR game, where they had the headset, and then you had this full-on gun controller. And in it, you were looking around and shooting other people and such. And I didn't play that one, but it was fun to watch how people... It's always fun to watch how people look in VR. Admittedly, always entertaining. And so, got to watch a bunch of people playing that one. They also had at least one, if not 2, VR like roller coaster type rides, or something where you sat back in a motion thing and put on a VR headset, which I'm assuming that would have actually been pretty cool as a immersive VR experience. But the one I did try out, but it was mostly because I knew I could do a direct comparison for it, was they had an arcade version of Beat Saber, of the actual light-cutting game, right? And it was interesting. All of them were running HTC Vives, which makes sense because the Vive boxes and such allow you to track and have multiple tracking in the same area. So that way they wouldn't counter with each other. So that made a lot of sense. It was my first time actually really playing on a Vive. And I was a little surprised because the way it fit my head compared to what I'm used to with my original release edition Oculus, it is to me a bit bulky and a little heavier, and it doesn't click on the way in a way that feels as comfortable as my Oculus. As well as the leather kind of pad they were using, which I don't know as if that's the default for the Vive or if that's an aftermarket one. It's a soft kind of leather, faux leather type pad. I didn't like because I straight up was walking around saying, well, this is how I get the coronavirus. Because after other people are, even though they have wipes and stuff to try to wipe off, it's just like, oh, I don't know, it didn't feel right. And it actually caused me to sweat even further. And then the other challenge with the Vive and playing, especially with Beat Saber, at least in my experience, was the controllers were also tethered. And I don't usually have those Vive controllers. I don't know how they feel really. But the whole thing, it's kind of ingenious for Beat Saber. The whole thing hangs from above you. And what it has a tether that actually is on a reel. And so when you start the game and you put your credits in, the thing lowers. And it's funny because at first I was just looking at it and touching it says, do not pull the headset. When you start the game, it will lower. I was like, yeah, all right. Makes sense. Because instead I was just trying to look at it. But then when I played it, dropped down, stuck it on, grabbed the controllers. And then when I grabbed the controllers, I guess the best thing I could say about how it felt to me was, if you know, in those workout videos or anything where you see where people are taking ropes and like, you know, articulating the ropes kind of thing, because this was tethered with these really long kind of heavy things off the back, it felt like I was holding these bigger ropes instead of these nice light controllers. And it makes sure it's safe. You drop them and they would just boom, but there's also no wrist straps or anything like that. It's just, you just hold them. And so it felt really weird. And because I'm used to with my Oculus, and anyone who's watched me stream some Beat Saber, I just kind of do a lot of flicking with the wrist, which allows it to go really easy, and that's how I get faster modes. This, I had to like legit, you know, really move these controllers. And I actually kept hitting myself with the cord off of it. And I was just like, what the heck?
Stop hitting yourself.
It was so weird. But in doing so, it also felt like it was just slower and such. As well as the graphics. I was surprised. The graphics to me were shite. They were more like what I get from the Oculus Quest than the full-on what I would expect from HTC Vive. And so I was just like, what is going on with this? I'm assuming they were just playing more like the Quest version of it in a smaller, lighter machine, something that didn't require a full PC to run, since it's an arcade box and it's running just one game. They're probably just running an optimized version off of a, you know, really decent like Raspberry Pi or something, maybe a small PC or something. I'm not really sure, but it was an experience and it was crazy. And I'll mention the Geek Cred part But after playing it, I felt weird because I did okay. But I was like, I am better than this, dang it. What is it about this game? I was not happy with it. Also, the audio, because it came from above so everyone could hear it, wasn't as solid for me, where I was like, what the heck? It was just a little off. And so, yeah, I don't know. It was an experience, though. Anyhow, so that's pretty much what I did. I do want to give a big shout out to Hydro. It was a lot of fun. I love getting out there. He has a lot of great folks as well. And everybody was just having a good time running around. I played, arcade games that I was actually somewhat impressed that this place had newer versions of games I like. Because they still had like an old tucked in the corner Guitar Hero game, arcade Guitar Hero. They had several of the basketball games. They had a bunch of other like ticket style games, like Carnival one where you throw the balls and hit the little plushy things, knock them down, and they automatically reset. Stuff like that. I was like, that's really slick. They had like a ring toss game. All these other that are traditionally ticket games, but there was a gal there. A friend of mine's like they play on WoW together. One of Hydra's group. Who, because her husband was like sick at home, or I guess a boyfriend or something elsewhere, sick at home, and that wasn't able to come. But all hyper as heck, like latched onto me as someone to compete with the whole night. And so we ran every game it was. She's like, we have to compete. And so she destroyed me at like skee ball multiple times. She's like, fine, I don't have any finesse, darn it. If I can't bank it off the wall, I'm terrible. I owned her at, the ones that matter, like air hockey. Destroyed her at air hockey. I think we went back and forth on basketball, but then we played a bunch of other like racing games and such. She destroyed me at Mario Kart, but I won Daytona, which was actually what really made me happy. They had a updated version of Daytona USA. I don't know if you've ever played that racing game, but it's kind of based on NASCAR type US race cars. And it's a kind of a slick one where it has either automatic or manual like you would normal. But what's cool about it is that anyone who's played it for a while and knows how to play the advanced manual mode knows that you never have to really take your foot off the gas. You can just shift to change your speed in the game. I will give credit. They updated enough now that when you do it, you'll loose your tires a little too much. And so they'll actually start sliding out if you're not too careful. So I actually had to use the brake. But it was neat because Daytona USA otherwise has basically dropped off the face of the earth. And it's been one of my favorite arcade racing games ever. And so this one is slightly modernized. The graphics aren't much better, but they are a higher resolution. And they updated the tracks a little bit and such. And they actually made a couple different modes of how to play. So I was like, that made me happy. Did lots of shooting games. And it's nice because with unlimited play, right, you don't feel bad about hitting continue over and over and over again. And so it's the opportunity that with 4 hours, you can maybe actually beat a game in an arcade. So that was a lot of fun. But I'm trying to think what else. They lovely cake they had and everything else like that. We had some drinks. I challenged the bartender by saying, I need a drink. I was going to get a boozy, like adult shake, but instead, since he couldn't make the shakes at the bar, he was like, well, I got smoothies. I can make you a smoothie. I was like, sure. What do you want in it? Rum. Give me a spiced rum because that's what I do in fruity drinks. And so he hooked it up and it was great. And I knew this was going to happen because I went and got the one and then went and got a second one, but there was 2 different bartenders when I did it. The first guy, he had never done one before. And so I know what he did is he gave me the drink and only charged me for the smoothie.
Oh, nice.
Because at an establishment like that, I figure a boozy drink's going to cost you $8-10 right away.
Right.
This one cost me like $6, plus change.
Right, not bad.
And so I looked at it, it was just like smoothie. I was like, yep, he didn't know what to charge with that as he added a shot of alcohol. And like a shot and a half. So I was like, sweet, I'm going to come back to him. Next time he was busy, next guy got it, and he charged me for a rum drink, which was like an extra $1 or so more. So not terrible.
Still fine though.
But it was a fun thing where I was kind of like, I know what happened here. So that was pretty much my story about it. Like I said, fun group, a lot of time just going out there and having a good time. I maybe have been there before. It's so weird because it felt familiar, but at the same time, like it was totally new. So I'm not sure. There's like 3 or 4 of these kind of establishments around.
I was going to say maybe to the chain or something, yeah.
Well, this is apparently the only one of these around. There's also this place out west a little further that's based on a Japanese style, one of them called the First Something or Other or whatever. There's Boondocks here in Colorado where there's like 2 or 3 Boondocks around that have a similar setup. And then Dave & Buster's, which 2 or 3 around. And it wasn't a Dave & Buster's comparison, but it was like all those. So it was interesting. It's really interesting about that. Anyhow, that's pretty much what I had to say that I hasn't been geeky this week. I think pretty much everything I have to talk about today is geek. So, with that, I think it's time for us to switch over with a little bit of...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek Cred, level up!
Ken, what do you have to want to share with us that's been geek?
Well, sorry, I got caught up in looking at travel things. I've been distracted. Cool. Okay, I think I'm ready to book my flights now.
Oh, this is exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Assuming that you check dates and everything to make sure it's the right one.
Is. So what I would probably do is, Tank, I swear you're going to be in so much trouble. Go lie down. For the first time in a long while, Kitten's gone out to the library by herself, so I'm alone in the flat.
And you're not paying attention because you're doing the show.
Yeah, and the dogs are not used to this. Lie down. It's because she locked them in here, so they're like,
oh no, they're just looking around like,
what
do we do?
We can't trust them out in the main flat by themselves because they'll wreck everything. So, all right. So I'm looking at flying out on Friday the February 21st and flying back on Monday the 24th at 5 p.m. And I just saw I can quite easily get an Uber or something. It's not far from your house. I can see.
We will make sure. No, you will have transportation. You don't even worry about an Uber. That is not an issue.
Well, I was thinking about you if you're working on the Monday. I don't know.
Does not matter. We'll make it work. Don't even worry about it. That is like this. But for those who don't know,
oh, you stud!
I feel like Ken is talking about coming to Gamefest this time.
I am.
Objective complete.
I'm hitting.
Objective complete.
Yeah. Excitement and more. What can I say? Like, oh man, this is gonna be a challenge, man. Because it's gonna be. I don't know if you understand the level of excitement that's kicking in here. Because the challenge is I'm only gonna be able to show you Gamefest. And not take you around Denver and do all the things and all the stuff. It's just going to be Game Fest. But it's like, that's still awesome. And it's still going to be a ton of fun. You're going to be able to actually meet in person so many of the people that have shared and are in chat right now, actually. In fact, you just encourage Kuros now saying like, crap, now I got to figure out how to get here. And so, hey, all you Pueblo folks can like hook up together and figure out if there's not a way to, make your way up or work with others to find travel. But yes, got to figure out how to make this all work. And so, no, that is, I need to, where is it? I think the Hando's already got in there with the whole hype. Ah!
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking, oh my God. It's tempting me to click on things and try and book it now. No, I'm not going to do it right now. I'm in the middle of the show. I can't do it in the middle of the show.
So you say this. Oh, it's funny because come into DIA. It's an easy trip from my house to get you. And we have more than a few people that I'm sure will be happy to ensure that you get here safely.
Oh, thank you so much.
So that will not be a problem.
So I'm looking, so if I can take 2 days off, it's actually cheaper for me, and then I could come on the Thursday evening. I don't know, maybe.
It is cheaper. Well, and we, admittedly, hardcore people, even though it's advertised from Friday through, some folks start gaming Thursday night, depending on whether they take Friday off. I take Friday off because I need to make sure to host and everything like that. So I am already available from any time somewhere on Thursday to make it all happen. So be aware. This means I'm already like, segregating, and we'll put up a sign on one of the rooms in the guest rooms to say this for GoHex and such. And yeah. Now woo! I'm excited.
To share as well. I don't mind sharing. That's fine.
Oh no, dude, trust me. My house is big enough. You will see. People end up camping out throughout the middle floor that I'm on here, in the living room, in the family room. There's sleeping bags. People bring air mattresses. It's just kind of like, once Friday night late happens into like Saturday morning, people start finding their camp spots. And then, I'm the bad one because I'm hosting. I get maybe 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, if that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I know there's people in the house and things are happening and I'm hosting, I'll go to bed like, sweet, I'm going to bed at like 3, 4 in the morning. Out. Come 6, 7 in the morning, I'm like, I guess it's time to get up. There's people in the house. And so I struggle, and I'll admit, come Monday for work, it's like, whoo! But it's all good. And knowing this, I could also probably like actually take off that following Monday or something, or adjust my schedule to make it work. So Don't feel bad about any of that. That's easy to manage. So yeah.
Well, it's not a big deal. I can always get an Uber. It's literally not. It's
Nah,
not a far
no.
So.
I have like a rule of thumb. No friend of mine is going to pay some whatever person to drive them up to the airport and back. Because you say it's no big deal, Uber. Our airport, while a fairly straight shot, is out in the country. And so it's still like a $40 drive or like Uber to get there.
Yeah, but that's
which is ridiculous. It's like a 30-minute drive. It's not a big deal. That is something that will be taken care of. Don't even worry about it. That's a nothing. I have taken so much time out of my life to help people get to from the airport because it's just like a personal, I don't know if it's just a pride thing or if it's just I hate the way that the whole structure is for getting to and from the airport, that I make it a point of mine to try to help people out, especially with like airport parking and how expensive that is and things like that. I'm just like, nah, got you. So don't even worry about it.
All right. But just so you know, if it is any difficulty, I'm perfectly happy to get an Uber.
Not a thing. I got all my PTO and most of my holidays for the year already, so I'm good.
All right. So Geek Cred, before I continue clicking on booking flights, because I'm too tempted to do it now. What have I been up to? Not much. So my Geek Cred is usually sparsely put over reading, gaming, and movies and such. So yesterday we went to the cinema. Actually, we went to one of the local cinemas.
Nice.
I say local. It's actually over in Lansing, which is about a 20-minute Uber away, which is quite expensive each way.
Because you're in East Lansing, right?
Yeah. So it's not crazy distance, but it's not easy to get a bus either, right? Plus, we were worried leaving the dogs for too long alone. Like 3 hours was probably enough for a Sunday, for a Saturday. So we went over and we saw Knives Out.
Okay, yeah. I'm curious your thoughts because I've only heard about it so far.
So it was good for what it was. It was a mystery, and it was I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. It was definitely worthwhile. I was a little disappointed because I didn't understand a lot of things with American cinema. So I've been before. I went to the one in Vegas, which was actually a lot better than this one.
Interesting. Okay.
But when I ordered the popcorn, they didn't, for example, have any of the flavor stuff behind the checkout like they did in the Vegas one. And I was like, oh, I guess they just do general popcorn here. And then we just went to the cinema. We also got a couple of slushy things each, right? One of these Pepsi slushy things. And the machine was like broken, so we only got one flavor out of 3. And I was like, for God's sakes. So
that is a common issue around the U.S. Certain machines just being broke and not knowing how to service. That's like a constant thing.
The worst thing was our brains that were service, I think, because when we left the cinema, I'll talk about the film in a second. But when we left the screening, we walked out and we walked past the popcorn stand, which was on the way to the cinema. We were completely blind to it. That had all the flavors and all the stuff you can. And I was like, crap. That's half the reason I wanted to come here is because I enjoy that experience.
Cinema popcorn is and I understand, right? It's not a necessary, but if I'm going to eat popcorn and I can do it at the cinema, there was something about that combination that just works for me. It's like getting hot dogs at a ball game. There's just certain places where that experience enhances the consumption of whatever it is you're having.
Absolutely. And so that was a little downer because popcorn's fine, and it's like in Britain when you have sweet or you have salted, and that's it, right? Or both, and that's what you can do. But here, obviously, you get all the different flavors and the shakes and stuff, and you can have like ranch flavor shake that you put over. It's just some crazy stuff, and I really enjoy that. I love the flavoring that you can put on it, and it was going to be my second time ever experiencing it. And I screwed it up because I didn't even see it was there. I also then realized that there was another slushy machine opposite the one we were looking at that wasn't out of order, and we could have used that and had all the flavors we wanted to. And also I realized there's free refills, which I didn't know was a thing. We don't have that at all anywhere. You pay for anything unless you pay like a ridiculous amount at the start. So I'd already thrown away my container. I put it in the trash. So I was like, oh man, I could have had another one to go. Yep. So I missed out on the popcorn flavoring and the free refills of both popcorn and of the slushy and so on. So I'm basically a big dumbass is basically the main concept to take away from this presentation. Thank you for my TED Talk. The film itself, Knives Out, it was like a generic mystery film in a big mansion kind of thing. Who done it? It's basically Cluedo. And it was fine. It was okay. They had some interesting points that I thought were quite funny in that there was 2 characters who were like youthful university level kids.
Okay.
One was a girl who was like supposed to be this SJW super left wing type, or at least she was described by others as that in the family. But she herself didn't really seem crazy to me.
Okay.
Similarly, there was this dude who's I think late high school, maybe a kid, who was sitting playing on his phone the whole time, who kept getting described as an right wing troll, who was like anti-women and anti-race and anti-other races and stuff. And so it was like both these extremes of the left and right wing that were portrayed in the youth, which I thought was quite a funny and kind of daring thing to do, but they did it in a very sensible way in that the kids themselves didn't portray anything. They were just generic-looking kids from what we saw, but the way they were described by others was that. But they were just like, what are you talking about? They were just all like, how could you call me that?
So it was more like the boomer look at like the younger generation and saying what they assume them to be?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
That was kind of funny. So that it was an enjoyable film. Would I recommend going to the cinema to see it? If you're looking for something, I guess. But I wouldn't like go out my way for it. You know, it was okay. It was fine. So we were going to go. The other thing I wanted to see was The Irishman, but it's not actually in the cinemas here. It's only on Netflix. So, we'll just watch it on Netflix at some point. We've been continuing to watch Picard. So we've seen episode 2 now.
As have I.
I would say that I'm still thoroughly enjoying it, but I think my hopes and my expectations are higher than what is being delivered.
Interesting.
Which is, to be fair, understandable and to be expected because my expectations were extremely high. I'm still thoroughly enjoying the performance of Jean-Luc Picard. That's great. I guess it's just all the other stuff that's going on isn't really appealing as much.
See, it's interesting because me watching this last one, I like that it still seems grounded in what I believe should be, is in many ways realistic for the world they're showing and the status of who Picard is and what's going on, right? And I think they've introduced some of the overarching, like what's going on in the background, what has caused the situation to be what it is, and what are potentially villains of the universe. And they're showing that as much as this is Jean-Luc Picard, right? They've had several moments in the second episode that show that it was Jean-Luc Picard, right? That back in the day, he was amazing and great, but today it's been a while. And he's been away from Starfleet for some time. Even to, no real spoiler, but coming into the desk where he has an appointment and the person's like, and you are? And he had to say his name, and then once he said the name, he was like, "Oh, okay, right." But just by sight, he wasn't recognized, even though he's iconic.
But even then, he wasn't like that. Was like, oh, damn kids, Like the guy was just like, "All right, okay, Admiral. I'm glad to see you up and about."
Yeah, right.
Such a,
but also there was also a piece of that based on what he had said in the first episode, and that played into the second, right? That lent itself further to say, like, well. And so I was appreciative of that, right? That it grounded a little better, and we're not just being given the almost infallible Picard. We're being shown someone who is a real person in that universe, and it also showed some challenges that we're going to have to see as to how does this progress, right? Because it's also not just convenient to say Picard being a darling admiral of Starfleet, because he isn't anymore, to just be able to say, yep, I'm going to go do this, and it's not a big deal. Which I like because
Admiral retired, right?
Right,
Admiral
but it's
retired.
but it shows to me it's touching on something that I really appreciate, and actually it's funny because Legend and I have had some discussions about this a little bit about the everyman and whether the universe of Star Trek is truly as wonderful as it's often portrayed. Because when we see Starfleet and we talk to the characters of Starfleet, everyone in Starfleet is essentially in the military. In the most socialist example of an environment there is, right? Similar to what military is in most places. And so you see Starfleet primarily in all the previous Star Trek stuff you see. You get hints of it with things like DS9 and such, where you actually have now Starfleet interacting with other cultures. But most, like other cultures on an even level. Usually it's Starfleet representing humanity and some other races, and then it's other races kind of thing. And this one's showing a little more blending, and you're actually able to see some of the common lives of everyday people in this Starfleet world within humanity. And I'm actually appreciative of that, because I'm starting to see the jobs and the roles of people that aren't all just in Starfleet. And I think that's actually pretty darn cool. So Yeah, no, I'm curious. I'm enjoying it, and I like that it's a longer series. I always compare this to like The Mandalorian, where Mandalorian was too short for me each episode. I'm now very much used to hour-long episodes and shows because now it feels like I'm getting this super long, epic movies type experience. Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit. Where Mandalorian is kind of in this weird in-between thing, where it's like, it's really good and I like it, but it's so short that I'm almost like, wait, it's done already? But then they've also done a few episodes of Mandalorian that were short, but so filled with content that it almost felt like an hour episode. It's so weird. So, yeah. Anyhow, that's where I'm at with Picard.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm still enjoying it. I would still recommend it to people. I just am a bit... it's just not what I expected entirely. That's all. Well, and I'm hoping recommend it for everybody's watching.
Yeah, I'm hoping this will just expand, because I think, and this is one of the things that I talk about with any storytelling, it's a balance between how much action go do you show versus how much time do you spend building depth of the world, right? So that when you do deliver on whatever's happening, it's more meaningful. And how do you balance that? And, because that's also like one of the challenges people had with the Witcher series. A lot of people didn't like the time aspect of it, how it in reality jumps between time frames. Whereas for me, once I saw it starting to come together, and I was still trying to figure out, all right, when is it going to catch up where it's all the same timeline? I was actually getting excited for that because I started recognizing, okay, this is past, this is present, what's going on. And so, I don't know, I do think that's a lot of good shows, especially ones that have a vision throughout an entire season or more, benefit from some of those might be slightly slower or less amazing episodes when it builds it in such a way that it pays off in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess it depends because right now I just feel slightly awkward. Maybe I'll get in it's same with any show in the early episodes. They haven't quite got the flow, right? You even feel that with Breaking Bad somewhat. You feel it with some of the more the fantastic shows out there. But so I guess I kind of have my expectations too high for the first 2 episodes, right? Here's hoping that they settle down and they continue that cinematic experience that we expect, and that all the characters fit in and no longer seem like they're trying to match the perfection that was TNG. And the perfection is Jean-Luc Picard, and instead actually coming to their own as interesting characters standalone. So yeah, Picard's been good, and I've been enjoying that. I've also been playing a bit of League of Legends here and there, but not much. Getting my butt kicked as usual. I almost rage quit, but I didn't. The other day, I held back. I was quite proud of myself. Oh, so mad. I played a game last night where I did extremely well, so that made me feel a bit better. You need to have a game like that occasionally, or else you don't feel like you're enjoying yourself, right? That's the thing with any game. You can't just lose all the time. You need to occasionally win to feel like it's worthwhile. So I've been playing Sona a bit more. She's been my main for the past week or so. The reason for it is I unlocked her arcade Sona skin,
which is awesome,
through the in-game system. Yeah, which I really like. I also looked at the stats, and Sona is actually one of the better supports right now. So I've been playing her a bit more, and I'm using it as a way to practice a more passive support role and less of a...
You mean not I'm going to go in there and kill just as much as my ADC?
Yeah. Like I'm very bad for that. Like whether I'm playing Nami or Nautilus, I'm always trying to charge in and do stuff. So now I'm trying to be like a stand-back Sona. I'll occasionally jump in to drop an R. I actually had a great moment yesterday when I was doing really well. My team were losing, we're behind. And I think it was who was it? Their top lane, whoever it was, Warwick or somebody, was running in at the bottom and killed like half my team, and he was running away. I came in at the side last minute and dropped my ult on him and killed him. And I was like, I killed like their carry who has like 20 kills as a support, and he just started raging in chat.
Oh really?
He was like freaking Sona killed me. I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That was pretty satisfying.
Oh, that's funny.
And I've been trying to temper out my ranked games with the occasional ARAF. The all random ultra rapid fire mode.
That didn't go well today for us. For anyone in the pre-show who watched us playing, since I put it up on the side of the normal pre-show screen, you could see where we didn't help that our Vlad was non-existent for the first half of the game. That was awesome. And admittedly their Kennen was good. Darn it, as was their Wukong. I didn't get to see much of the other lanes, but where I was at, those two were wrecking us.
Yep, they really were. I've been really enjoying it. League's such a great game. Kitten actually sat down and watched me play the other day for the first time, which is funny because I played hundreds of games, but she actually is like, I've seen you play passively, but I'm actually going to sit and watch you play a game or two. So
Wow.
she sat
Awesome.
and watched me play. Yeah, Sona actually. No, wait, was it? I can't remember her. No, I let her choose. I let her choose who I could go.
Huh.
I can't remember who it went. Because I played at Adverf, right? I wasn't going to play a ranked game with a random champion. Go lie down. And I explained everything as we went, and she was just like, because she didn't know anything about the game, so I was like, okay, there's 3 lanes, minions spawn on each side, they run at each other and try and kill each other in the middle. The point of the game is to try and push forward with your minions into the enemy base and destroy the base. But to do so, you must destroy the towers in the way and the inhibitors. Then there's final towers. Then you need to destroy the base. But there's 5 enemy teams 5 enemy champions who are going to try and take you down doing that. And you have 4 allies, and there's 3 different lanes you display yourself between them. There's this jungle and the other, and you just go on and on. And she's just like, there's so much to this game. And she's like, how did you know that? She was like, how did you know that guy was going to throw the hook thing? And I was like, oh well, I know the champion. There's 140 something champions.
Something
right now.
like that, yeah.
And you need to have, if you're playing a game, you need to have a good feel for each one. And she's like, you need to know 140 odd champions to play this game. I was like, you don't need to. You eventually learn over time. It makes it easier. It helps a lot. Yeah, if you're playing against the Karthus, for example, you need to know what his ult does, right? You need to know that one because you will experience it at some point in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite fun with her sitting and watching and explaining as we went. The second game we played, I played a ranked game, and suddenly I went silent
because you're so serious.
I was just concentrating, and she was like, "You're really quiet and serious suddenly." Well, I'm like, "Well, it's ranked. Of course, it's serious.
It's like this one matters."
Yeah, that's what matters to me. She's like, "But it's just a game." I'm like, "Yeah, but it matters to me. Like, okay, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but let me go look at my profile."
Well, it's one of those things, as you're looking that up, that, like, when you play a ranked game, for me at least, there's an additional level of expectation that I'm going to actually try to perform and win, because I now have, at least in that game, 4 other people who I am assuming come in with the same mentality. That we're here, we've designated that this half hour to hour of time that we're going to spend is going to be focused on actually trying to play the game to win, not just to play for fun. And so, yeah, that's my take whenever I think of anything ranked, other than TFT ranked, because then it's just me.
Well, in this, it sadly doesn't actually tell you how many games you've played overall. It tells you 2019, 2018, and ranked, and the last 20 games you can look at stats for. But for example, last year, I put a total of 2 days last year into playing League of Legends in total. So it's only 40 hours, which isn't actually that much. And the year before that was 23 hours. So nothing crazy. Current season, I've got 35 games, 20 hours, which is actually quite a lot for the past month. I've been playing quite a lot of League this past month. I need to go and tell my dog to stop howling. Can we please go on a break?
Well, the nice thing is we are actually right up against the break. So it is time for us to run away for a minute. So with that, we're going to jump out of here. Ken's going to run and take care of the dog. We're going to listen to a song for about almost 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes or so. That is going to be because you talked about Nights Off or whatever. This one is Nights into Dreams from OC Remix. And it's Overnight Cloverleaf, I believe is the actual name of the song, from Jose the Bronx Rican on OC Remix. Since these ones tend not to get us banned or in trouble with all the places we post video. Like the last episode, if you try to look for 424 and if it's not visible yet on, was it YouTube? It's because of the claim that hit for the video clip we showed of the movie that we'll see if I get it fixed. Anyhow, Ken, get out of here, and we'll see you guys just after the break. With that, you're listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com. We'll be back right after this.
Send in your emails to showx at VtWProductions.com. You're listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. All right, we're going to get back into things right away with an email that we got from our friend Kuro, as he was so kind to answer my call and let me know what was going on with it. So, let's see. Let's see. Starting out, it says, so here is my story this week. I was on my way to work on a Monday afternoon. All was normal until I got into the right-hand turn lane to get out of the main road to my work. When I pulled out into the empty turn lane, there was a semi-truck to the left of me in the normal through lane of traffic. The truck showed no indication of making a wide right-hand turn. The light turned green as I started to see the semi turning right in front of me, his trailer getting closer and closer to my vehicle. As soon as I see this, I sound my horn. The driver does not stop. I continue to sound my horn, and as the semi-trailer smashes into the left side of my car, smashing the A-pillar in about 2 inches, smashing the windshield and all the left windows. I keep sounding my horn for like 20 seconds as the semi keeps dragging me into the sidewalk on the corner. Eventually, the driver noticed, got out of his semi, and starts to yell at me, saying, "You're an effing idiot! I'm gonna kick your butt!" Part of me wanted to kick his instead, but I kept my cool and waited for the police to show up to get out of my vehicle. The police ticketed the semi-driver for improper turning. Semis are supposed to block the turn lane when they're trailer to block traffic and check before making the turn. Now I have the fun of trying to replace my vehicle. Damn, are manual vehicles hard to find now. At least insurance is taking care of this for me. Hopefully I get enough back to replace my old vehicle. Well, that was my crazy story for the week. Literally the slowest and most damaging accident I've ever been in. Kuro, dang. That actually scares me a bit because that's something I have seen. Where thankfully I've been able to stop in time before, where and most I've seen have been good, where they do start to come into the lane to show that they're turning and they have their blinkers on. Go figure. So you're aware, and they'll make, because the smart ones, right? They'll start in the lane, and then right as they start to turn, they'll swing out, and then back into the turn lane. But man, that is so wrong. And the crazy part is just not even paying attention to the horn and realize what was happening. That's awful. And it sucks because you as a driver, it's like, what do? I don't even know if you can easily get out of the way in that sense, right? Even trying to drive over the curb or something to get out of the way. That is nuts. Thank goodness. Hopefully you are all right. It does suck when you have to now know that you have to replace a vehicle. And you're right. Manuals are becoming a dying breed. Now I'm assuming this was your SUV, Kuro. You didn't share that, but I figure it is. Hopefully, wasn't the 300. That would have been like, oh God, no. And so, or I mean, wait, yours is. Wait, I keep forgetting. Is yours a 300 or Supra? Darn it! It's been a while. Sees how long it's been since we've hung out. Anyhow, regardless, yeah, no. Hopefully, it was your truck. At the same time, hopefully, you'll find a good replacement. So that sucks.
Yeah, dude, that sucks. That sucks so bad. I feel so sorry for you, man. That must have been a really scary incident as well. I mean, getting dragged along like that. You're sitting there hoping that nothing is going to injure you, you know? And I mean, it sucks to get your car damaged, but I'm glad. I assume that you're healthy and okay, and I hope you are for sure.
Absolutely. All right.
So let us know how it goes with insurance and stuff. If there's any, fallout from the instance. It sounds like I said, a very scary thing.
Also, and I'm just realizing this as I'm seeing messages come up on social media and stuff. Is today like Super Sports Day? Sports Ball Day?
Yeah, today's Super Bowl. Yep.
It is Super Bowl Day, isn't it? Oh, at 4 p.m.
So thanks to all of our listeners. We have 14 people watching on Twitch right now and more on YouTube and listening and posts. So we very much appreciate you guys doing that on Sports Day.
Well, the nice thing is I think it starts after us, so we're all good there. But I may actually do the thing where, as I'm doing other things around the house, I may do the consummate American duty and like turn it on somewhere in the house so that I can like listen to it. Not that I really am going to care to watch it, but I mean, it's what, Kansas City versus San Francisco? Maybe I got that right. Shows how much I've been paying attention. And that's what Hendo said. The patrons aren't playing. No one cares. No, the patrons aren't playing. So everyone's like, thank God it'll actually be a Super Bowl we care about. But anyhow, yeah, Kuro, you're right. Dude was freaking out about losing his job. Well, yeah, he crushed someone's car. That is a big vehicle to be. Anyhow. And
he's lucky it was just your car. I mean, like, right? he could have done some serious damage to you, you know?
Yeah, of all the things. Anyhow, all right. So I'm going to get into my Geek Cred this week. We talked a little bit kind of hinting at the idea that Gamefest is coming. So 21st for 23rd this month will be Gamefest. Expect for a Gamefest show to happen on the 23rd. And so what'll be nice is it'll be, I think, the first time I get to utilize the mics in this office with their stands and such, where so far it's been just me, and I have the other one set up as like eventually. So I'll get to actually try to use that out. That'll be interesting. So that, looking forward to that. Also, and Legend will appreciate this, I finished my initial beta read for our friend Jon Wasik's new Sword of Dragons book. And so he has sent it out to a couple of people to get our first impressions read, basically help him edit and come up with some ideas for that and things. And so, yes, I have finished my first, and I say read, I'm using an app on my phone called Voice Streams that does text to speech. That is interesting because, one, it does a very rudimentary text to speech, and so there are certain words it cannot pronounce. Like reached is like react or something like that. And so it's funny because I hear certain words and it just like clicks in because I had to learn what it was actually trying to say. Anyhow, but it made it nice to see because I think it reading it to me, I forget how many hours it was overall, something like 10 plus hours of it reading it to me or something like that. And so, but now my goal is to go back through it with the actual text in front of me to do legit like comments and editing and stuff like that to hopefully help them out so that, if nothing else, for those who've been following Sword of Dragon series, means another book is finished the initial writing stage, is going through editing and post-processing before it'll be put out to market so that you guys can catch the next book in the Sword of Dragon series. All right.
Hey.
Beyond that, go ahead.
And John, I'm looking forward to the Audible version. That's what I'm holding out for here. So if you're
he does have one of my mics. He does have one of my mics specifically for the purpose of recording.
Yeah.
So he knows that.
Forward to that.
He knows that is still a thing for him to work on. Other than that, let's see. I booked something myself with our friend Copy. We have in a group that she has setting up. I've booked tickets to go to MomoCon in May. So instead of going to Anime North, has been my tradition in the past. Copy is going down with some of her friends from all the various MMOs she plays to meet up in Atlanta. And at first I was thinking the same place I do Dragon Con, but it's actually a place just off of it. So it'll be interesting to see. Still in the same area. But to go to another con down there that's a little more focused on anime and Japanese culture and stuff like that versus Dragon Con, which is everything. Other things, gaming-wise, we did play some League. I've also tried, and I had some serious downs and some up with some ARAMs recently, where I think I was playing with one of my friends, Brock Sampson, and we had maybe 4 or 5 losing streaks in a row that were all ridiculously painful. Like, we don't know what was going on, but we're just kind of like, yep, that happened. All right, catch you next time. Then a couple successes here and there, and I actually had a few games where I played. Actually, most games I played, I felt pretty comfortable about my play on the champ. There were just some of the team comps you couldn't touch, and just where we didn't have any poke or whatever the case might have been. So, in general, I've actually felt good that I mostly play well enough. That air roof that we had this morning, I did not. Although we were also just stuck in a bad way. Like the ARAM we were playing, I felt okay about how I played when I was playing Nasus, but just the press back and forth. You know, I think we were actually at a point where it could have tipped either direction, and they just happened to get that one team fight when it was late enough in the game that we couldn't come back from, and so that was interesting. Other things. So I talked about playing Beat Saber at the arcade. Hopefully you've also seen me streaming. Anyone who saw me last night, when I came home, I had to play it again at home. Because I was so put off by the experience at the arcade, I was like, come on, I am not that bad. Like, I still did okay at the arcade, but I was just like, nah. So I then played at home again, and I felt pretty good. I got one, and it's my second time now that I've gotten a full combo, meaning didn't miss a single note in a song, which makes me feel really good because my setup with my Oculus every once in a while gets a little janky. It'll, like, hiccup or something, and, like, it won't display as fast, or it'll lose tracking on one of the cameras or something like that. And one of the controllers may start going wonky, but everything played well. I got through, and the song that I did a full combo on was one that I did sight unseen. First time I'd ever played that song, and I played it on Expert, and bam! And admittedly, a direct call out to both Campo and Unit Zero because they're on my VR friends list with Beat Saber, and I do look at their scores. I'm like, I'm gonna beat you, as well as some others like Dragon and Sarah and a couple others that I have in my friend feed. That I'm just like, I am specifically targeting your scores. And so, yeah, looking for, that was a good time. The other thing I was going to bring up is that I have been doing some 3D modeling. But for my friend Zenocat, I think I've talked about her in the past, where I'm helping her do some 3D prints for her business, which is an adult business. And I am printing right now one of the first molds directly that I am printing versus her casting a mold off of something I printed. But it actually required me to do some modeling to try to take what was just the positive and make the negative, to make the actual mold that she would use. And so I'm excited because I've been able to do some engineering basically on how I think it would work to make this a useful tool. And I haven't done that a whole lot with 3D modeling and printing. And so I'll be really curious to see if this works out the way I hope it does. And I'm actually in the process of modeling the second one. The challenge is the models she gives me that she initially creates have so much detail because she uses a 3D modeling program, either Sculptus or something like that, to actually form her things. It's very organic. But that means that translates into a massive number of pixels or actual triangles that it does when it's rendering out. And so I think the first one I was trying to import, and I eventually gave up trying to do it in Fusion 360, which is the nice CAD type program, because it has a limit of bringing in 50,000 faces on an object. And the one I was trying to bring over had over 1.5 million triangles in it, polygons. And so I was just like, yeah.
Okay. That's a toughie.
Well, and so doing so, I actually got it to kind of minimize, where I cut it into 4 pieces before bringing it over into Fusion and reduce the complexity of each one down to 50,000 each one. So I was bringing in 200,000. I could get them in, but then trying to actually get them to behave together and interact with other surfaces to then hollow out a mold, my machine was just crying. Right, and I'm running a 6850K Intel processor that's got 12 cores, and I've got 32 gigs of memory. And I was finally at a point where I was stressing my machine. And I noted, because I was having it process in the background, and I brought up Star Citizen. And Star Citizen requires wants like 8 gigs of memory, active memory available. And it was telling me, you might be too low. Hey, heads up. So it's kind of like, oh, snap. This is the first time I've really maximized my resources on the computer to the point where it was not happy, right? I'm running almost all SSD for everything that was actually trying to do everything. And it was just like, wow, I'm running into a bottleneck. What do I do?
Wow. That's a rarity.
So my answer to that...
Mark the date, people. This is the first time in ever this has happened.
Thanks to rewards thanks to finding out that my credit card rewards that I have, where I earn up credits each time, that I've used to buy 3 GoPros in my past. Instead of trying to buy another GoPro this year, as I reached up my threshold, found out I could translate them into Amazon gift cards. Meant that I had $400 to spend on Amazon. So...
Wow, that's pretty neat.
After the show, I'm going to be installing another 32 gigs of memory.
You madman. Mad man.
That arrived in the mail, actually arrived in the door as we started the show. And so that arrived as one of my projects to hopefully free up some space there. And then...
Crazy.
The other side of it is that I got some, and these won't make sense to people initially, but I got some faceplates. Because the other story I was going to do is what I got yesterday is I am working to essentially smartify my home. But the way I was going to translate it into this story is my note saying I also tried not to burn down my house twice this weekend. First one is, as I've been 3D printing, and I currently have this big print going, I started working on my newest one, my Robo R2, and I had an issue where it mucked up again with a bunch, like it got to a point where something fell off the print, and it just kept printing in itself and became a big glob. And so when I tore it out and heated it back up and peeled it all off, I think I damaged the thermistor, which is one of the most, like, what do I want to say? It's fragile compared to almost every component there, because it's just usually a little glass filament thermistor in there with 2 tiny little wires that's somehow shoved in. This one actually has a little cartridge that it fits in, which sucks because I've yet to find out how to make those cartridges myself. And so you either have to buy them that way or whatever, and I have a bunch of raw thermistors that you basically have to make yourself. So instead what I did is I made the raw one and had to resolder into the original cable because it has like a little branch thing so that the thermistor wire has to only be maybe 2-3 inches long. And so as I had to resolder everything to put this new one in, it didn't have the little shell that you easily screw down on. Instead, there's just the glass. So I put the screw in a lot and then kind of the glass in so it was very close to everything, and then taped it all together with Kaplan tape, which is non-heat conductive. And I thought, sweet, got it, put it back in, it was registering, and then when I started heating it up to test, let me heat up the extruder, see what it does. I started seeing smoke come billowing off the extruder head. I'm watching, I was like, but I was looking at the temperature, and it was only showing like 80 degrees Celsius. And I was like, what? Well, I don't understand why it seems like it's so hot. So thankfully, I also have a wireless thermometer thing. Not the best, but one that I can point at the thing and not touch it and kind of get a general reading. And it was showing like 250 degrees centigrade, Celsius.
Why did you use your finger? Okay, good.
oh, dude, I have lost skin from hot extruders, so yes. But I pointed at it, was like, woo, that's toasty, but it is not reading that. Huh. And so then I kind of I did cool down right away, shut it down, let it go off. I mean, it was billowing smoke and bubbling out filaments. So I was like, that's hot. So I go look, and I saw that when I had installed it then, because it took some little maneuvering to get everything in there right, it's a fairly tight fit for how it fits in the R2, the thermistor had popped out. And so it was close to the actual or the actual extruder head, but not in the metal. And so that air gap meant it was still reading almost 100 degrees Celsius, but not touching it. So I don't really know how hot it got, but yeah, glad I was there. Anyhow, so I eventually remounted it. It seems like it's solid now, and so I should be able to print with it again. But that was a moment. It wouldn't, I don't think it burnt anything. Maybe? I don't know. Second thing I started doing is also off of my Amazon card and stuff like that, and I had been testing, I think I mentioned a little while back, I'd gotten an Echo, Alexa device to try to test what could I do with a little bit of things. Had wired up my living room lights to have wireless connectivity so that I can just say, Alexa, turn on living room lights, turn on living room fan, that kind of thing, and they kick on. It's like, sweet. So that's kind of fun. And plus, what I actually really like is the little Echo Dot. When I'm in the living room, I could just be like, Alexa, play Christmas music. And I apologize for anyone if you're not listening on headphones and I'm turning on devices you have. I know you're not supposed to say the words, but hey.
It's usually fine through speakers and such.
Well,
usually.
I've seen where it actually happens. It'll turn on other devices. But, and it'll play, and it's wonderful. And actually, a lot of what I've been doing with it is whenever I hang out on the couch and go to sleep on my days off, usually, because I can watch TV, and it's actually a place I let my cats hang out with me, and they'll sleep with me and such, is I have gotten addicted to saying, Alexa, play bedtime music. And it picks some random playlist and plays some little music, and it turns out I'm like, sweet, and I go to sleep to that. It's actually quite nice. And so I kept thinking maybe I want to get one of these in my room, see what it's like. And so I ended up picking up an Echo Show 8, which is their slightly bigger, like an 8-inch touchscreen Echo. And what I've done is I've replaced my alarm clock by my bedside with that. And that was actually my whole mindset was it'll fit in almost the exact same space and be that. And in doing so, I spent a little bit of money, not a lot of money. Yeah, I spent a lot of money on getting a bunch of smart outlets and switches for various parts of the house. Not for everything yet. I'm kind of doing it room by room by use cases. But I wanted to get enough to do my bathroom and bedroom lights in my master suite because I have a fan and I have a couple different lights and stuff up. And some of them are dim lights, so I got some dimmer ones and things like that and kind of messed around. And as everything's working out, I got everything installed, I got the show set up, and it actually is quite nice. It's doing everything I want it to, which is basically a replacement for my alarm clock, but also can just do my normal things like tell it, hey, play these songs and stuff, and it's working out great. And I actually got some little bonus things I wasn't sure would work or not, but I have that I got at CES years ago, a nice Sound Blaster Roar Bluetooth speaker that I have in my bathroom. Cool, yep. And it's it's Sound Blaster, Creative Lab, so they had some good stuff back in the day. But so I have one of those in my bathroom I usually listen to while I'm taking a bath or when I'm getting ready in the morning and stuff, I'll listen to music. Well, it's Bluetooth, and I saw that the Echo Show allowed for Bluetooth, pairing, so I paired the two. And what I was not ready for it to do, but it actually surprised me, I was hoping it would play through both as a way to fill surround in both my bathroom and my bedroom as I'm getting ready in the morning. It didn't. It prioritized over to that external speaker.
I would expect that, yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Totally makes sense. But what's cool is that speaker also has a microphone on it. And so when it did pair over, I can now talk to the speaker, and it's another now Alexis device, essentially. Or it's pairing over to the Echo Show to do anything. So I was able to, while I was working on the outlet, say hey, play hip-hop. And it would just pick a random playlist from Amazon Prime Music. and started playing for me. I was like, all right, I like this a lot. And I was a little concerned because it's now playing in the bathroom and not the bedroom, so I'm not getting both speakers. I was like, well, how's this going to work? Well, I found out that when I turn on the speaker, it pairs and it takes overflow. When I turn it off, the Echo Show takes it right back.
Right, okay, so you've got a way of managing it at least.
Yes,
okay.
And so what's really nice is when I get up in the morning now, I can just walk in there, turn on that speaker, and continue to use it as just another, as that's where my show is, without having to buy another Amazon device, right, directly for it. Now, the story goes into where I said, as I was trying to burn down my house again, I have a nasty habit, and people know this if they've seen around me, of doing home maintenance and upgrades and things like that without really taking all the safety steps. Like, I have done a lot of electrical work without ever turning off the electricity.
So, wait, have you written your will yet? Is that something that you've done?
No, and my mom actually gave me a lot of crap for it when she was here.
Yeah, something everybody should do.
I mean, who needs all these assets? I'll be dead. But I actually really do need to.
But what happens when you're dead? It's about your peace of mind right now, and so you don't have to worry about it going to,
I got no
for example,
kids.
the state or something.
I got 2 cats. My parents
so
get all
my. Happy with the.
My parents get all my insurance money. My parents get
how
like.
How would you feel if the HOA claimed it or something? Some subclause somewhere got them to keep it. Wouldn't you be mad?
Why? I'd be dead. No,
Yeah,
seriously.
but screw those guys.
No, like legitimately, I do need to do a will because I've realized more recently how many assets I have. Because it's one of those worth more dead than alive. But
yeah.
Because I think my folks will get like $500,000. I got like at least that much in my retirement right now. And then the house is worth about $500,000. So I mean,
you really shouldn't be spreading this all online because somebody's gonna
take me out.
I don't know. Yeah, take you out and like hustle that money away or something.
Nah, it all goes to my cat. No, it doesn't. But
that's not a bad thing to do. If you, hey, I don't care where money goes. I'm just saying, man. At least maybe go somewhere you want it to.
I do have a plan, which is why I need to. I do actually have a plan, and so I do need to just get one written up. Anyhow, aside from all that nonsense, and nobody get me too drunk and kill me at Gamefest. It's record on the show. Y'all be suspect if that happens.
My tickets are booked.
Yeah.
They are actually booked. I just booked them.
Oh, nice. See, I'm far too honest here.
Plans coming together.
Anyhow, so what I decided to do is, though, to continue to make all the house smart, is I have a panel in my master bath that has 3 switches on it. One for the main lights, one for a dimmable light over the bathtub, and one for a light over the shower. And I thought it would be nice because it's something that I'd heard from a friend in the past where they had set up a thing where when they wake up, they have all of their dimmable lights come on the lightest setting. And then over a time frame of about 10, 15 minutes, they slowly rise up to full strength. And so for him, it's a way to, make the waking up process a little more comfortable and yet also get him ready to go versus just fighting your alarm and things like that. And so I was like, I want to give this a shot. And so I installed 2 dim switches in there. I got all the switches sorted. It's a little interesting because most of them require extra wire, all the smart device wires. And I'd done 3 of them properly without turning off the power in my living room, and it worked just fine. In my bathroom, those switches, the wires back there were a little tighter. And so I got everything wired. They were all hanging out of the game box, and I was checking them all. And everything worked. I was like, sweet, got everything paired. Lights turn on and off. I could say, Alexa, turn on my master suite lights. Boom, turn on, all good. But then I started to try to push them all back into the thing. And somehow when I was doing this, one of the wires must have slipped. And must have touched a different wire. Because in the middle of that, all of a sudden there was a loud pop. Bright light. Some smoke.
Was there a tunnel?
All the lights went off.
Oh, no.
No, I was fine. It was just like, poof. Thankfully.
Yeah, you're just lucky it was the wires and not you.
So it's funny, right? Because I did, and I was talking to Hydro at his birthday yesterday about it, because he knew what I was saying. It was like, I buzzed myself a few times. And he looked at me and was like, Ruane? Because, the nice thing about AC power is that it lets go of you versus DC, which grabs you. Because AC with it alternating, it just turns into a little like, bzz, bzz, it like makes all your muscles twitch. And I've been buzzed pretty solidly by, 110 volt. See, we don't have 220, so it's a little safer. But, nothing permanent that I'm aware of. Nothing too bad. So, I mean, I buzzed myself a couple times pushing it back in. It was interesting how I thought wires were grounded well enough or covered with a sheath, but then in touching between one wire and another, it's like, ooh, I thought those were both shielded. Huh, I guess not. So I buzzed myself a couple times. But, I mean, it did teach me in that I then went, and when I checked which breaker, yep, sure enough, popped a breaker. So that was good. I was like, all right, went back, and this morning, waited until this morning to go back in, pull everything out, do a different switch in case the one might have actually burnt out, and then rewired everything and put the little ties on them, soldered them a little bit, and put electrical tape around them, and made sure everything was very well put together. Tested it, went outside, turned on the breaker, make sure it all worked, nothing blew up. Yep. Went back out, turned it off again. Then went in and like pushed all the wires in there comfortably and got them all settled, screwed them all down, put them all the way in, went back out, turned it back on again, went back up, nothing on fire. They all work. Aight. See, I'm good. Even someone as old and crusty as me can learn. But yeah, I totally tried to like almost buzz myself to death. That was fun. That was a thing. But it worked out. And hey, I got new switches up there and it worked totally fine and does exactly what I want. So now I just have to switch out my main lights to dimmable lights, dimmable LEDs, and I'll be straight happy. Because then my goal is to make it so that as I wake up, when it first, like, the alarm goes off, and when I want to make a routine that when I shut off the alarm, it starts raising the lights in the bathroom so I can get up. And with the alarm, as soon as it starts going off, I'm going to try to make it so the bedroom light itself starts to raise slowly, like super slow, until I shut it off. And then once I shut it off, it raises faster. I'm going to be very curious if I can make those routines work. So that's my goal.
I think it's doable. I think it'd just be a bit of a pain to set up in the first place, but I'm sure once it's going, you'll appreciate it enormously.
It should be straightforward.
Except for when you're like doing an all-nighter, you get up early, and then your routine is like, what's going on?
Well, but that's why I want to tie it to the alarm. And like something about when the alarm goes off, because if I've set the alarm, that would make sense. Right? Because my weird thing is my schedule's only Monday through Thursday, so I had to set like an individual alarms for each day, because if you do it weekly, it'd come up Friday as well. And I don't want to hear that noise, because I tend to take Fridays off. So it'll be interesting. I have thoughts on how it'll work, but I'm playing with this whole automation thing to see what else we can do. Anyhow, so that is pretty much what I had that was geek this week. And so with that, it is time.
I actually had one more thing that I forgot to bring up that I'd like to, if that's all right.
Oh, of course, Ken. Tell us what else has been geek.
I also did some reading this week. I try to talk about it every week because it also forces me to read more. So basically, I finished Shining last week. This week, I moved over to Audible US because they had a deal on where for I think it was like $70, I could get like 12 months of credits, which worked out cheaper than the UK deal I was on. So I swapped over to the US. And since I got here, they offered me, I think I mentioned this last week actually, they offered me a $20 credit on Amazon if I can finish 3 books in a month or something. So I'm still working on that. So I'm now reading Matter by Ian M. Banks, which is, I think, like the 6th or 7th or something culture novel out there. And it's very enjoyable, as expected. The culture novels are fantastic in general, so I always thoroughly enjoy reading those. I think that the narrator is especially fantastic for managing the different accents, and sort of to try and make them sound kind of alien is quite difficult. So I very much appreciate him putting in the effort to do so, because it is supposed to be a bunch of alien species that are, and this is what I was actually saying to Kitten Features the other day, the alienness of the culture is so great that when you talk about it to other people, they're like, "What the hell are you listening to?" So, for example, I was telling Kitten how one of the main characters was talking to her boss right now, who is a bush.
Okay. Literally
an amorphous physical bush, and that's who it is. He can move some branches around, and he experiences life as a bush. And that's fine. That's just the way it is. It's just perfectly normal in this world. And it's just funny because, you know, in the culture, like literally that's both what the novels are called and literally what it is a culture. It's perfectly normal for there to be various species and various I don't know, differences amongst the peoples entirely.
Okay.
And it's all to be expected. You get used to it over time. The more you read, the more you're like, yeah, this is normal. And eventually you're reading about a bush and be like, yeah, this is normal. So I highly recommend the if you're into sci-fi, like real proper sci-fi, and it's something I always found really tough when I was a kid, was to try and find a book that actually properly explained otherness. You know, something that is so different to us. I mean, the characters in this book are generally humanoid, but they're not mostly humanoid.
Okay.
They're like, on average, I would say they are, but not all of them, and that's just the way it is. And humanoid, not humans, right? That's the cool thing about this series, is that it's truly otherness explained in extreme detail, and you feel like it's normal. It's like an extremely liberal society as well. Like, you can change to any race, gender. You can change from humanoid to machine if you so please. There's some changes that you can't be reversed just due to the way that the science behind it works.
Okay.
But they're at a technological standpoint where they've pretty much unlocked every technology that can exist in this world, and it's fascinating.
Nice.
So I highly recommend that. I'm enjoying that. I just wanted to mention that more than anything.
Oh, very cool. Actually, that did remind me. The one other thing I was going to talk about is that one of my photographer friends I've been talking to, she recommended, or we not necessarily recommended, had mentioned in passing that she was binging a series, and in doing so, I was like, okay. And I was sitting there trying to figure out what I wanted to watch. So I thought, I'll give it a shot. It had been on my light to-do list kind of thing. Like, I was kind of interested. So I started watching the newer, and I won't get the full name right because I don't know it's all titled at it, but the newer Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, essentially. The Sabrina, the whatever, Curse or Dark something. And I'm really liking it. I thought
you said you tried it and you hated it.
No, Sabrina I never had. I had never seen a single episode, and so I started watching it just this past week, and I've just finished the first season. And I enjoy it. It's got some quirk to it, some potential cheese, but at the same time, it's so properly dark that I was really appreciative. Like, they aren't even holding back to say things are straight up for them. The witches they're talking about are straight up supporting or worshiping Satan. No question about it. And they depict Satan and the Dark Lord and all those kind of things. I was just like, what? And so I have been legit enjoying it. She was trying to warn me, saying that it was potentially campy, and I maybe ran into like one or two moments of it that was kind of like, I can see here, but for the most part, I really liked it.
I really enjoyed what I saw of it. I just gave up over time because I wasn't overly into it. I guess it wasn't bad. It just wasn't that great, right? I feel like some of Sabrina's friends at the high school are just there to root certain causes, which are fine causes and everything. I just feel like I don't know how well placed they are within the series.
I could see that. There's some pieces that I'm kind of like, but for the most part, nothing has hit me in a way that I'm like, what the heck? For the most part, all of them, I'm like, no, I'm good. I like this. I'm okay with what you're doing. And so,
I don't really care. It's not a big deal. I know there's some people who are going to be like absolutely raging over this kind of thing. That's not me. I don't particularly care. It really doesn't make any difference in my books. It's more of it feels slightly forced, and that can take away to some of the.
And I could see that. Yeah, no, I could see where it could feel forced overall. And I was a little worried. But in the overall of what I've been experiencing with this, I'm still very happy. And so we'll see as I go forward. But like I said, so far it's just been like, this has been a good time. And so I will keep watching it and let people know in general what I think. But so far I'm quite happy. And I'm looking forward to watching more of it. I've had like one or two moments that were like, but for the most part, it's been a good time. So I just want to share that piece.
Pause said that the new Sabrina show on Netflix is awesome. And Hando said, I'm still trying to get through Mandos and Witchers.
See, I crushed both of those so fast that it's like, now what? And so I'm on that next stage.
Witcher I finished so quickly, man. It was, we tried to space it out, but...
You can't, man. It's so good. No, it's good, though. And you watch, you're just like, all right. And as it builds up, you're kind of like, yeah, that was legit. And I am totally okay with all of his variations of grunt.
So, saying F word and grunt.
Yeah, that is most of what Henry had to do.
Yeah, I enjoyed it so much that I follow these meme pages and you'll see on the ShowX Facebook. I share them there constantly. I just love the Witcher memes. They're all just still so funny. I don't know why.
They're a good
and
time.
Paz says he's one episode from finishing the Watchmen series, and that was pretty good.
I have not watched those
love
yet.
The film, so I need to watch it.
I haven't watched those yet. I actually started hearing more and more good, and so I need to check those out. And I appreciate hearing further from other people saying that they're enjoying them, and so because that gives me more willingness to check it out next, stuff like that. And yeah, that's awesome. Actually, Seancast, you're talking. I like that you guys are talking about reading as well in the Codex Alera series because I haven't read those at all, but I've only heard good things.
I love the Codex Alera series.
You've talked about it multiple times, Ken, so that's something I need to check out. All right,
I've read through them 3 times.
Nice.
All of which I'd read in paperback as well. I didn't actually listen to them. I actually read all of them. Well worth it.
No, that's awesome. Okay, I want to transition because there is at least one thing in news that we got to talk about. And so here we go. We're going to jump over with
technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
Because the one I wanted to bring up, and this is based on a lot of discussion that's gone on in the last week since it's come out, is that of Warcraft 3 Reforged. I don't know, Ken, how much you've heard. I have
this open. Yes, I have this open too.
So the one I was looking at is from Newsweek. That's a good little groan there. The title of this saying Warcraft 3 Reforged review bombed on Metacritic for bugs, crashes, and bad graphics.
Yeah. So it's been review bombed all over the place. If you look at the Google reviews, they say on average of 1.3 over 1,700 reviews. On Metacritic, it had 0.6. It's currently at 63%, so I'm guessing a lot of those were removed, probably because a lot of people who were so mad went and made a new account, right? And they probably regarded that as spam. But
I'd be curious. Or did they think it was just nothing could be that low? I don't know. So for those who aren't aware, and I'd be curious if anyone out there has personal comments on the new release of Warcraft 3 Reforged, which commentary, and it may be in the article as well, was stated as not a remastered version, but instead it's a re-envisioned version of Warcraft 3.
I just rechecked, by the way. It has the Metascore that I looked at before was the critics who give it an average of 63. The user score is 0.5 out of 100.
Wow, it's gone down.
Over 19,000 reviews, it's 0.5 average.
Ooh, it's gone down. So, for those that aren't aware, this is from the article from Newsweek. Warcraft 3 is one of the most influential video games of all time. Blizzard's real-time strategy experience starring orcs, night elves, and humans spawned a generation of titles still dominating the game's space. Defense of the Ancients, a mod created in Warcraft 3 engine, gave rise to multiplayer online battle arena genre, and League of Legends and such, and World of Warcraft sprung out of the lore and passion the previous Warcraft series built.
We're living in a nightmare.
When Blizzard announced at BlizzCon 2018 that a remastered version of the classic game was headed to PC, fans rejoiced. Updated graphics for units, remastered cinematics, and a new array of tools for multiplayer made fan mouths watered. A beta for a select group of players released in October, but most had to wait until January 28th to get their hands on the game. When the day finally came, things didn't go as expected. The launch of Warcraft 3 Reforged was plagued by connectivity issues, making it difficult for many users to log in. This is a fairly normal occurrence when it comes to Blizzard titles in their infancy. World of Warcraft Classic endured hour-long queues just to get into Azeroth on day one. Some vocal fans expressed their other gripes, heading to Twitter to share the disappointment, lack of textures, and promised upgrade detail they feel falls short of a complete HD overhaul. Some examples saying Warcraft 3 Reforged is a effing mess. Wowee, who saw that coming? No wonder it was radio silence and they barely promoted it. And then other ones showing examples of comparisons from the original Warcraft 3 and the new one, saying that they then refunded the game right away. And admittedly, I saw some of these and was like, that can't be true. But then started looking at some of the videos and things that are out there, and it's bad. It is so bad. Essentially, and if you caught pieces of there, Blizzard had kind of promised that they were going to fully update this game in HD, that it was going to be available to play on 4K, which apparently it is, that they were going to go through and update all of the character models, all of the game assets, the texture stuff, that they were going to actually record entirely new cutscenes and potentially add more content that way. as well as completely re-record all the original cutscenes in the game and things like that to make it a modern game. And apparently they didn't. And I've read a couple articles and saw some other ones in there that said there was even some discussion from people who are insiders in Blizzard who said that they significantly cut all of the resources to the dev team. That they've reduced the cost, or like how much they're willing to spend on developing the game. That they've reduced the number of people on the project down to a skeleton crew and things like that. And essentially they gave it no chance to succeed. And that talk about it being radio silence is saying that after the beta or when that was hitting, basically Blizzard didn't say a word. And they actively really didn't promote it much until it launched. And I noted on social media that I just started seeing this whole press of almost every day in my, like on Facebook and stuff like that, seeing some ad from Blizzard about Warcraft 3 remastered or revisited or whatever it is, Reforged, sorry, and saying, you know, revisit the game that started it all, which already made me go like, wait, what about Warcraft 1 and 2? Anyhow. But
Warcraft 3 got higher rated and had more
it did, but when you're gonna make a claim that this is the game that started it all, versus saying the game that like brought Warcraft lore to the masses or was the precursor for Warcraft 3, there's so many more accurate ways that you could say that.
Started it all. Like you could say that, for example, Dota came from Warcraft 3 as a custom map originally. It did start that entire MOBA genre. I mean, they can claim that fairly.
But it is crazy to me because everything we talked about the idea of Warcraft 3, even especially prior to, but even in the aftermath of the whole Overwatch and whatever scandal that came out of the tournament about the whole support for China and those kind of things, and how Blizzard acted around that, because a lot of people, yourself included, Ken, were saying, I'm not going to support because of this.
Yep.
But this was such an easy thing, right? This was like the roadmap for it was
instant cash grab for them. This was such a big game that even those who don't really game that much but played Warcraft 3 back in the day, or any of those millions of people who did buy it, they would happily repurchase it. I was so sorely tempted. Like my ethics that have been holding me back from purchasing anything Blizzard related were seriously being challenged by this upcoming Warcraft 3 Reforged. Because I freaking loved Warcraft 3. It was one of the most important games in my life. When I think about my teenage years, I think of Warcraft 3 before I think of World of Warcraft. The custom games, the campaign, listening to Jimmy Eat World in my friend's house. That's what we used to do, man. We used to play LAN games of Warcraft 3. I loved that crap. I remember spending whole weeks playing that game, non-stop. I remember playing like all the custom games, like the tag games, the tree tag, the Footy for Frenzy. I loved those games. And when they announced that they were actually making a Reforged, I thought, oh my god, there's a remnant of real Blizzard in there somewhere in the Activision monster that gobbled it up. There's some light shining from within that dark abyss. But then they come around and they promise all these such amazing features where it'll be the same core gameplay, but better, re-envisioned for the modern day. And they produce something that can only have, 20 FPS? It can barely run on modern systems, even though the graphics are worse in some cases than the original Warcraft 3.
It's missing,
kidding me?
It's missing
this
shadows.
Is horrific.
Even beyond just the fact that they didn't finish the game, right? That they didn't finish what they promised. The other ones that people noted was how they're locking down the multiplayer self-creating mode stuff. That basically there's a EULA in it, or whatever the thing you agree to, that says anything you create in this Reforged version belongs to Blizzard. And everyone's
BS. And I get why they did it, right? Because
it's because of Defense of the Ancients. It's because of Dota.
They owned MOBAs, right?
Yeah, it's because of Dota, and because their own MOBA basically failed. And so the fact that they put that in there, that basically tells everybody, no, you can't, buy from. Also, that they got rid of ladders, that they got rid of clans, that they got rid of all these other aspects that have been built over the decade, basically, plus, since Warcraft 3, that have been what kept the game alive.
Also, you know what else they did? And they didn't even announce they were going to do this. They just did it. They revoked all of the original Warcraft 3 online services and took them into the main Battle.net.
They forced everyone.
If you had an account that you've had for the past 20 years, right, that you've been playing with your friends online, you might have lost them all. You might have lost your account.
No, they forced everyone to upgrade. In fact, if you had the original Warcraft 3 in your, basically on your Blizzard account on Battle.net, it's gone. All that's available is Reforged. What a silly, ridiculous misstep, Blizzard, in a time frame where you've been doing so many little things that are just pissing people off. This one was such an easy win. Yeah. And you could have done it in such a way that let people opt in when they're ready and keep work and say like, yes, we don't have clans today, but we're coming up with them and we'll allow this flexibility and all these kind of things. It's just horrendous that in this day and era with the money and everything that Blizzard has, they couldn't turn what was content they already had completely scripted for them into, it didn't even have to be a different game. It could have been the exact same game, but prettier and able to work in 4K, and most of us would have played it.
Have you seen the differences that were shown in the video in terms of graphics?
Yeah, I will.
IGN put up a nice video that's got
let's see if I can.
views.
Yeah, let's see if I can show some of this without getting us in trouble, as I did in the past. And so
it's in the chat, so people can just click on it.
Oh well, no, I'll show some of it on the show. I just need to skip through and make sure I don't play the whole thing. But they're showing some of the cutscene things and stuff like that, and just the level of like how the original, or no, okay, this isn't the original. This is showing what they talked about at BlizzCon as saying, here's what we're promising. Yeah.
What they promised at BlizzCon 2018, which is, by the way, pretty much the last time they talked about Reforged, other than saying it's coming or being postponed, right? They promised all these features and all these graphics and updates, and they moved away from this, be able to like zoom in near first-person level of graphics, that everything's, you'll notice, is zoomed out because they can't trust. They know that the models aren't good enough that you can zoom into the level that it was before. Also, you'll notice the animations in the original had interactions between the characters where they would point, they would move their mouth, they would actually seem to be real people. Right. Now they're just like zoomed out and you see them bobbing side to side. It's pathetic.
No, this is so bad. Like, guys, just delay the game another month or two and release what people hoped. This is...
No, I disagree completely. You should have waited another year or two. If you wait till 2022 and then you produce something that was actually good and actually what you promised, I think that you should provide a refund to everybody who asks for it. You should issue an apology to everybody.
They should give a refund to everyone regardless. Holy cow. But it makes me wonder, like, is this the death of Blizzard? Is it self-induced? Right? I mean...
It's not the death. It's not the death. They died a long... The corpse that's been held up by the Activision stake, right? Like Blizzard is this corpse that's been held up with a stake going right through it, held up and made to look like it's walking and talking. They've been waving it around this whole time, and yeah, I think that we just realized there's a rotting corpse in the middle, right? I think that's just what's happening here. I mean, this isn't the first screw that Blizzard have had. I'm going to talk about the last expansion of World of Warcraft because I really enjoyed Legion. Legion was a fantastic expansion, and you know we can talk crap about a whole bunch of the expansions like Panda Land, all right? That's easy to mock. But Legion was a really fantastic, interesting, feature-filled system that lots of people loved. I thoroughly enjoyed. I put lots of hours into that expansion. I loved it. Then this newer one just came and swept away all the interesting features, replaced it with the same old crap again, but 2.0'd. And it was just a boring rehash of, here, look, new races, because we can't be bothered with any real content. Also, the story makes no sense. Let's just have some random new old gods or something. Also, everything's retconned. All the systems you enjoy are moved away, and the complexity from the game's removed. The difficulty is entirely based on gear, and done. Game. We could also talk about the fact that they've been releasing these failed side projects they've had with other companies, including Black Ops and all this crap, right? And then they actually come with a good idea of remaking Warcraft 3. They have a chance to make some real money. They're surprised that pre-purchases aren't working because people like me have been struck and hurt enough by pre-purchases in the past. We don't give money to AAA title companies.
Heaven forbid we're taking a moment and going like
something.
Yeah,
right. Just make it and release it and actually earn what you based on what you've produced, right? Rather than earning based on promises. And so they've produced this complete piece of BS. My hatred for Blizzard after the screw up with the Hong Kong stuff has already been palpable. And, you know, I know they kind of apologized, I wasn't okay with the way they apologized. It wasn't enough in my books. I think it was more like we apologized that we said it in such a way and it happened in such a way rather than what happened, right? They were sad. They were upset with the way that their HR publicly showed what they did rather than what they actually did, right? And that made me really pissed off with them. But now the fact that they're still not even producing good games, and the thing that I was looking forward to most from Blizzard, for the first time in about 5 years, the first time I'm looking forward to something, and they screwed up.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
just
have
bad.
any faith in them, and I gotta stop calling them Blizzard because they're not. It's Activision, right? It's Activision.
Hey, this I hearken this all the way back to old WC Radio days and Octagon Horde vs. World when we were focused so much on Bobby Kotick with Activision when they first were acquired.
Yeah.
And you know, I still remember I have the design out there of the blood money stack that had the WWBD, what would Bobby do? And just blood money under it. I have that shirt in my closet. Where it went back that far to say this is what's going to happen with Activision in charge, where they're more worried about money than content. Because I have said forever that WoW has given Blizzard such a blank check to do something with, where people bitch about like Star Citizen and having earned over $250 million that they're investing actively into a game, and we can play and see where it's going. And yeah, it's got huge scope creep, but I'm so excited for it. Blizzard's been writing checks off of WoW for over a decade and more, where we've, billions of dollars. And that's all gone to somebody's damn pocket. That has not been reinvested into anything. The closest argument I have is something like Overwatch, which essentially was a ripoff of Paladins as a game that wasn't even their own, right? That Blizzard still can't create their game. Everything is stealing from other people's ideas. And it's just, God, I've had this criticism forever. And I have no hate on people who are still having fun with WoW, because that's a game when you've invested that kind of time in the relationships you have with people and just any MMO in general, right? Awesome. I'm not a big MMO guy. We know this. But I can't forgive these other missteps when it's just, I challenge that Blizzard's still a gaming company in any way, right? They're WoW. And that's kind of it, in my opinion. And so, I was so disappointed. I was really hoping to see something come out and say, and it's everything we hoped, and it's awesome, because I was ready to go to Battle.net and buy it. Like, I miss a good old-fashioned RTS like that, and I wanted it so much. And so, Unit, Overwatch is solid. It's good. It's a rip-off of Paladin, but it is a good game. But where's their new game? Where's the thing where they're pushing innovation and doing something new in the world? I mean, damn it. Come on, Blizz. So, yeah, that's where I'm just like... So it's I'm so concerned. And Activision, you dumb mofos. Because again, it's the same thing, right? All these people were handed success on a silver platter. Like, just don't F this up and you will make money forever. Yep. Whoops, let's mess this up.
It's not even making a new game. You don't need to make any decisions. You just need to upgrade the graphics. Like, it's not hard, right? Like, if you just need to hire a bunch of artsy people, some people do some basic changes with like the screen and stuff and the UI.
Man, they could have done it with
hard.
They could have done it with interns. Yeah, right. Exactly. They could have done it with interns and got this.
You did not need to You've got an expert team of the best people in the world for graphics available, and you have the money to pay them whatever you want, a blank check.
You could
have made so much money from this.
Well, it's the same thing I say about all these companies who don't embrace the mod community. You could have had modders do this for almost nothing and just said, and we will actually pay you something. Thank you for the mods. And they would have just been happy. Look, I worked on a Blizzard game as a modder. Look what I did. Because I guarantee they would have had better textures, graphics, maybe HDR, all those other things that these guys couldn't figure out. Just, wow. I see better things coming out of the Unity engine from people doing on their own side projects.
Yeah, it's such BS. Now, before we end the show, I'd like to do a couple of other quick bits of news. I've got a couple of small articles.
Sorry to take up all that with that, but I didn't realize how impassioned I was until it literally hit. Yeah.
Like, I'm literally hurt by them, you know that? Like, they've actually hurt my feelings. And I hate that. I hate that. I shouldn't have had so much faith in this at a company anyway, right?
Right? All right, sir, back to you.
All right, I got two quick things to talk about. First of all, this is a mini one. It was actually Sims 1, the very first ever Sims of all time, had its 20th anniversary yesterday.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, Sims was 20 years old, so shout out to the Sims for being money-grubbing, but, a solid idea that's kind of owned its space and given the players what they wanted over time. And, hey, people loved the content updates and everything. And, yeah, it's all just cash, right? Like, $20 for, like, 3 new sets of clothes and 6 new items in the game. But, hey, if people are paying for it, you go for it,
I know people who have been playing Sims forever, right?
Yeah,
people who grabbed Sims 4, got every update, and whenever I see them online, and they still play it. So it's one of those games that has as much of a following as any MMO out there. So
it's a solid game, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing I want to talk about, this has been getting 96% of people liking on Google users. It's got 73% on Metacritic and 9 out of 10 on Steam. This is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
The new Kakarot game.
Initially on January 17th. So it's a couple of weeks now, 2 weeks, 2 days old. But I've been holding off on talking about it because I wanted to see how it would do first. So this was built on the Unreal Engine and produced by Bandai Namco. And it's available on PS4, Xbox One, and Microsoft Windows. And it's the kind of game that I've always wanted Dragon Ball Z to be, which is a semi-open world action role-playing game, right? So you fly around as you're the character you like. You shoot beams, you beat up people, and then you enter battle mode and you have fights and stuff, right? But you can also explore and unlock things, and there's secrets and stuff in the world. And I've been keeping my eye on this because it's something that I'm kind of interested in. Okay. And from the way that the ratings are coming back, it's not quite as open world as people would like. It doesn't seem to be fully, truly open world, which I think is understandable and kind of hard in the Dragon Ball universe because there's a lot of interesting, iconic places in Dragon Ball, but there's like 6 places, and they're all kind of samey. Like you have city, you have the cliff,
open desert cliff areas. You have somewhat plains with plateaus. You have Namek. You have do you have space officially? You have King Kai's world.
Yep, you have hyperbolic time chamber. Yep. And you have wherever what's his face Piccolo's alter ego used to live in at the top, Corrin's Tower, right up there. And that's pretty much most of it. So I think the open worldness is kind of a difficult one to without fleshing out the entire world with additional stuff that is interesting. It's quite tough to do. And I get that there are other places that you can consider. For example, the original Planet Vegeta, maybe, or if you watch some of the new films, some of the Beerus's Planet and stuff like that, you could add in. But it's a bit tough. So I'm fairly interested in this, but it's got quite an expensive price to it right now, I believe.
I think it's a $60 game, right?
Yeah, $60 right now, and that's a lot to ask. It's $60 for the standard game, $85 for the deluxe, and $95 for the ultimate edition, which is just madness, right? But it looks pretty cool, and I think eventually when the price does go down, maybe in a year or two, I'll pick it up.
I'll be curious to see, especially with some of the updates and things like that.
Yep.
Well, and it's one that I saw at San Diego Comic-Con when I went to the whole Dragon Ball experience. They were showing it off, and it looked really cool. And so I could see jumping on it. Preacher says, I think it was Preacher said that it looks like it had some problems. Either Preacher or Pause that said it has some problems. Yeah, we'll see if they don't patch it out and make it better. It seemed like they were doing a big press for it back then, and now it's out. So we'll see what goes on. So, and I like Dragon Ball. I have one of their games, and I kind of enjoyed the fighting of it, but I never jumped fully into it. So it's one that I'd like to see do well. I did have a quick note. I know it's end of the show here, and we're going slightly over, but newsworthy, and because it's timely. As much as people are still hating on the multiple launcher thing, and I'm one of them, that's why GOG Galaxy is kind of an interesting prospect. But right now on the Epic Games Store, right, everybody's like, Epic, I don't have
it installed.
They are giving away, they did this over Christmas and the holidays, right, a bunch of free games. Right now, until the 6th, they're giving away Farming Simulator 19. Which, as much as that seems like a silly thing, I grabbed it, installed it, and started playing it, and it was surprisingly entertaining and fun. Not something I was streaming because I'm just going through tutorials, but it was kind of fun. Like, all right, I see what it's doing. That's kind of cool. And it seems surprisingly accurate. More to say, what I was really going to focus on for this one, it reminded me that they're still giving away games. Knowing this, starting February 6th through the 13th, they're going to be giving away Ticket to Ride, which for people who haven't played as an actual tabletop game is one of those top-rated tabletop games. So they're going to be giving away the digital one. The tabletop game I still think goes for like $40 or $50 to get just like the board game of it. But they're going to be giving Ticket to Ride away digitally, which I know you can play multiplayer with friends. And then after that, on the same level, they're going to be giving out Carcassonne. Or actually, that's the same time. So both of those are going to come on February 6th. So even
if it's a great board game, so for anybody who's interested in the digital version, I'd recommend going for it. Why not?
Just throw it out there. Just like, those are such good board games, right? Yeah. They're really solid games that why not get the account just to have those for free to eventually play with friends. So just throwing it out there. Hate on Epic as much as you want. They're trying desperately to be relevant and to earn your love, or at least to get you to come look at their store. So that might be a reason, maybe compelling for some. I'm there, so I'm going to grab them when they come out. So that's, I think, all I've got for today on Relevant News.
All right, then.
There's a bunch of other articles I could get into, but I think we've covered enough today.
We're at time. You have been listening to ShowX live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and possibly not live on various those places and maybe elsewhere. Thank you very much for tuning in. We very much appreciate it. You can support us in a variety of ways, and I truly do mean this. Please do support us, especially by sharing and liking our stuff on the social medias. That's the number one. It takes like 2 seconds, guys, and it means so much for our growth.
And it's something that we haven't really pressed about, but it is the next thing we need to accomplish along the lines of what Twitch requires. We need 75 live viewers to meet the next level of Twitch. We do everything else they ask for. We stream enough. We have people on listening to us, everything, but we need more people to actually
comments. Yep. Yeah, we got a great live chat. We love you guys listening and taking part. We really appreciate it. We just need more people to join in the fun. We've done a good job in the past 6-7 months. We've managed to increase our viewership at least by double on average. But we just need to keep going in that direction to get up to the next stage. And, we enjoy doing this, and we want to make this show more enjoyable for you guys too. So anything we can do is do let us know as well. Feedback and such is very much appreciated. You can also send us an emails to showx@VtWShowX.com. Tell us what you've been up to. Tell us if you've got anything interesting, your Geek Cred, or any funny stories, or other stories, such as the one as Kuro shared with us today, and we pass on our sympathies to him for that. You can also take part by liking us on the ShowX Facebook. So search for ShowX there and like us there, because I share memes there all the time, nonstop. Like, it's going to be annoying. You'll be annoyed. Don't like it. Don't like it. It's just all memes and gaming news. You already get that once a week. You don't want any more, right? Don't like us on the ShowX Facebook. Also, don't follow us on Twitter either. That you'd hate that. It's twitter.com/VtWShowX. Be sure to avoid that. Twitter.com/DocDead. Don't go near it. And Twitter.com/DrKenReed. You don't want to even think about it, right? Okay. That's pretty much it. Oh, Patreon.com/ShowX as well. That one. Yeah, don't do that one either. Okay, thank you so much for your support, guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week, and thank you for hosting, sir. Much appreciated.
Always good times, everybody. Thanks for all, and we will catch you again next time.
And Instagram. Check us on Instagram.
Yeah, we need to put more on there. That's still new to us.
Yeah, we don't really use it yet.
We're still figuring it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But
we'll use it for selfies.
Well, we'll light it up come Gamefest. That'll be a thing, if nothing else. All right, with that, guys, we're out of here. You have a good week, and we'll see you again next week. Check us out throughout the week as we post all the things and streams and all that. All right, bye.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.